I think the people that I get to work with day in day out, the culture from the top down. We're a God-fearing, God-honoring company. He has blessed us, and to work in a place like that day in day out is truly, I think, an exception in our country. That I wish we had more places like that.
Okay, I guess we'll skip the minutes and go to the ordinance 7259. First and final reading.
Well, if we could, I would ask Mr. Frigo to speak to both 7259 and 7260. These, of course, are the ordinances authorizing the issuance of the certificates of obligation for both the Ross Rogers Golf Course, a self-funded project, a fully funded project, and also the funds for the tiers, or the tax increment reinvestment zone, for the projects they're going to do with some streetscape and other matters. And I think Dean's going to talk to us about holding this over till next week due to bond pricing. Dean?
Yeah, our financial advisor recommended we just push this forward 1 week. And as Jarrett said, both projects should be self-funded. The revenues from the Ross course together with the golf improvement fee should cover the debt service on these certificates of obligation. And we've trimmed it down. We had started at 4.1 million, and then we've gotten some preliminary estimates from the architect, and we're looking at 3,750,000. Then on the tiers bonds, which we were going to use for streetscaping downtown, and also to do streetscaping around Potter County Courthouse, that should be funded from the tiers revenues, and a rock solid, good track history of paying their dues, so we don't see any problem with either of them. But we do want to push it forward 1 week, so we ask when these items come up on the agenda that you announce we'll consider them at our meeting on the 11th.
This is based on market conditions.
Yes.
So
Towards the end of the year, it was getting real
Are we
low.
tabling this, or are we just saying we're voting for it and just moving it forward?
No, you're moving it forward 1 week to consider it.
Well, we're voting
We're not
No.
voting today. This is what we would ask.
Okay.
for it. So,
Is it called tabling? Is that
You table it for 1 week, and then we'll price on the 10th and bring you the offer on the 11th.
well, they just blew the whole commission. Guess we go home.
Go home now.
And just as a reminder, you've already taken all the necessary steps to ensure that the Ross Rogers project is self-funded through the course revenue, through the golf course improvement fee. We've got one more matter of business that we will consider on this agenda under consent, but that one's taken care of. We did rating meetings last week on both of these items, with both Moody's and S&P. I think a point that Dean made, that Stephen Adams with Specialized Public Finance made, as it relates to your tiers project, that issuance, this $2.26 million issuance, is actually fully funded by the increment that already exists today. So
We're not betting on the come.
We're not betting on the future on that one. That is an increment that's already occurred, and a revenue that's already received today that will fully fund that debt and then some. So they're both very good, safe issuances for you. Really relate very heavily to the using area or the benefiting area is who will be paying for these projects.
Did as we talked about yesterday, do these have to go to the AG as well?
All debt
All
issues
those.
go to the AG.
Yeah, the Attorney General, very careful steward of public debt in Texas.
I guess that's good.
Any update on our ratings?
Were we going to hear that yesterday?
I got a preliminary from Moody's. We still need to do a little convincing. AA1, which is half step off AAA.
But it's sideways moving, not down. Yeah.
And we fully anticipate S&P keeping the AAA.
Yeah.
Do you have to redo that every year?
They
Every time you
monitor us
issue
every,
debt.
yeah, and they'll do monitoring every year of all our debt, yes.
When did we get that AAA rating?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh, okay, ordinance 7260 is also set. Did you want to skip that? I mean, you already talked about that.
Same with both of those.
And tabled it as well. Okay.
But we do need you to announce it's tabled for 1 week.
Okay.
table
So we don't have
them
to
at
do
the same
anything.
time.
Well, that's just you.
Oh, okay. Marcus, do I need to read it?
Yes, ma'am. I go ahead and read it, normal procedure, and then
Okay.
the motion will be to table it to a date specific, 1 week, January.
January.
So it will require a motion.
Yeah.
To table
Okay,
that.
okay.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
reading this just like order. Okay. Okay, and then resolution on city transit.
This is the final public hearing on the changes that were presented to the commission some weeks back on the city transit system. And we have Judy Phelps, of course, our transit manager, and Vicki here to answer any questions or speak to anything on that resolution that you might have.
Okay, maybe if you both would like to come up here, I'd like to hear just how it's going to be, how it's being condensed, what is actually going to be happening in the city with this multimodal transportation, right? Is that what it is?
Well,
This
This
is
is
a
a
this is just,
component.
Okay.
this is just the transit
Okay.
piece of
Okay.
multimodal.
Judy, and thank you for being here today too. Tell us what our citizens can expect from this resolution.
It's really encompassing a couple of different projects. The first one is, of course, what we've already completed, which is reviewing all the bus stops and evaluating the accessibility, evaluating fixed route structure, where we're providing service, where we're not, and then adding service, which is the second piece, to new areas of town. As we went over the maps, where we proposing to add service to the apartment complexes off Route 2, Mariposa, Cypress Creek, and then on Route 3, adjusting the route so that it's not encountering the train tracks on Northeast 24th, so that we'll deviate around that, which will improve reliability. Then on Route 4 and 5, that's putting one bus on each route, and then on Route 5, adding service over to the 34th Street area by Nelson, where we've had several new apartment complexes built. Route 6, there's no changes proposed to Route 6, but we are going to add some time to that schedule. That's the only real change to that one. And then 7, getting that route over to the medical center area by Point West, where there's been quite a bit of development out there. And then Route 8, reconfiguring that route where we get it out to Point West, also to Care Circle, and then serve both sides of Coulter, where people don't have to cross the street from Northwest to walk over to Texas Tech.
Okay, great. How are we going to advertise this, not only for today, but for the future of the bus routes? I know that might be an issue.
Well, what we've done is we've had this agenda item on the advisory commission agenda October, November, and December. We've posted notices on all the buses, plus we put it out on the listserv through the United Way. So that gets the information out, because a lot of the community service agencies, of course, they have clients and they communicate that information to their clients. And then we'll update that information, and we'll keep it on the advisory commission agenda until the project is completed. And that way, we keep the notices posted in the buses. People can come to the meetings, they can ask questions. Of course, they can always call the office, ask drivers. So that's a lot of the communication. Plus, I know Karen put an article in the paper which gave some advertising information. Plus, we also have the website.
Okay, I was wondering if there's any way for new folks coming down Amarillo that may not have use of a computer, not know where to go. Can that be an ongoing informational thing that's in the paper, George's or Karen, that people can see what the bus routes are?
Well,
Or once a week published or something like that?
well, I'm not sure what the newspaper has planned, but we're also on the 211 Texas, and you've probably heard of that. That's where anybody can call this 211. It's through the United Way, and they can get information. So if they come down Amarillo and they need to know information about public transportation or affordable housing, I mean anything, you call that one number, and we're a part of that information.
A lot of people would know to do that. Yeah.
It's all over Texas.
And the users of public transportation
They know
are
how to
very
use that?
familiar with that.
Are they?
We offer the route maps. You can come to City Hall and get that. You can go to the bus transfer station.
Oh, you'll be in the transfer station?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and we also have them at the community service agencies at the libraries. We,
Okay, that's what I was.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I apologize.
No, that's okay. Yes.
think of-
Commissioner?
I have a question. And so we touched on this before. More and more, I think bicycles are going to be riding on these. I think potentially more and more people are going to these handicapped individuals. What is the commitment financially in order to get this on Google Maps? So that
Well-
somebody can take their iPhone or whatever, punch a button and see each route. Do you have an iPhone by chance?
No,
Yeah, they have a specific.
it's an app, yes.
Yeah, a specific app where you can pull it
Sounds
up
like
and
you're
look at.
discriminating against us.
What kind of an expense is that? I'd like to hear people don't know how to use a lot of it.
That's funny.
It's just a matter of staff time, working with IT to get that
How
information.
difficult is that? How much time does that take? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Sounds like a good project for Michael Rice. He has a.
We can,
I'm easy, man, whatever you want.
if you would, let us.
I like that
we'll
attitude.
have you in there next week, as to what it would take. to have that
I would
footage.
really appreciate that, because I think that's moving on in to the next step.
You bet.
And you may have said it and missed it, there is a link on the city's website that links to the bus routes.
I think that a really exciting thing about what Judy and her staff's done, and the advisory commission has done, of course, working on the existing routes and trying to make them better and as efficient as possible. But these additions, these are things that are prompted by activities in the community that have a need. You have asked, can we work with them? And obviously you can, adding especially the service up north to the two new apartment complexes. And then certainly with developments out in Points West and the ability to serve that group out there. This is a true growth of the system being modified to fit the need. It's good to see that.
And I assume the spec trans, it changes with the calls, I guess.
Yes, yes, that's our demand service for anybody who has a disability that prevents them from riding one of our fixed route buses.
I think that's very exciting. We're addressing that.
Sometime in the future, as downtown redevelops, there might be a need for a bus that makes a continual loop among the office buildings, maybe going out to 6th Street, connection with the Civic Center, and maybe having a kid in place that would pay for that. Certain times of the day, I mean, it wouldn't be something that might run all day. Have you given any thought to that in the future, or we just need to wait till that comes up?
Well, I do put together a kind of a statistics table that just has a real kind of a general look at what it costs to operate the system, and to add one bus for a year, that would be about $226,000. Of course, that would run all day. So if you're looking at something that would run about half the day, say in the morning and the afternoon, maybe about half that, it would just depend on how long it runs, what size of vehicle.
Who would pay
What
for
do you
that?
have it in mind for employee off-site
I know.
parking?
The businesses.
Either
yeah.
employee off-site parking or people using the Civic Center that are here and the transportation to other restaurants that might not be available.
Something more of a shuttle system.
Like
rather
a shuttle
than a
system,
route
you see it, downtown Fort Worth and Dallas. We make a continuous loop, but I think sometime we're going to address that, have to put it in.
Sort of trolley.
A trolley.
The only thing is that if we use federal funds to help fund that, and I'm not sure what you're thinking, it would have to be available to anybody to get on or off the bus. So you could not exclude someone.
Well, that
that
should
would
be an
be-
issue, but,
Yeah.
and I think with the kid though, they kind of know what it would take. The kid would pay for the funded, it would be like a covered wagon, but Buffalo.
More strong grabs.
Well, I think it's something that will be considered, I think moving forward with this downtown. It's a good idea we talked about it.
Well, I think having just the need for that would be a good thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Certainly at that time, wouldn't be difficult to put in place.
Right, and that's been thrown around. And that's good thought there.
Streetcars.
Judy, thank you so much. Y'all have any other questions?
Shouldn't have ever taken them out. Shouldn't have ever taken
Should
them
never
out.
take them out.
Now, I will add one other thing. Brett Lawler, our fixed route operations supervisor, he'll present the route changes to the group.
Today?
Yes.
Okay.
when it says stop to remain in place with no amenities, I mean, did you stand there? There's not a bench.
Correct.
Okay, now 7258, I guess, second.
Second and final was zoning change out at City View. Mayor, again, this continues the pattern we've had for the last few weeks of existing developments, planning more lots. Really looking like the residential market is coming on its way back up. Kelly, any changes?
Okay, consent agenda?
The mayor, item A is one that we're really excited to bring forward. In fact, this actually was one that you and I discussed with Mr. Bradshaw at the Texas Panhandle Builders Association a week or so ago. This is the purchase and installation of a system that will be used for your building safety department. This is designed entirely to allow a more effective, efficient, and accountable system where our builders, our subcontractors, homeowners that are doing work themselves can check on their permits, can schedule inspections, and have follow-up feedback not literally immediately, but very immediately, as soon as a code enforcement officer is able to get back to their pickups, where we can update the results of those inspections that they might have called for. And the builders or the subs can access that either verbally through the telephone or through one of the different smartphones. I don't think it's iPhone specific, smartphones in general. And then, of course, back through the website. Today, we do use a system that's pretty antiquated. It takes a lot of staff time. It's difficult on the folks who we're doing the inspections for because they can't always get the results of that inspection until the end of the day or the beginning of the next day. This puts in place a much more immediate feedback, which helps their schedule and keep things working. On the back end, it helps us because it provides a very clear and accountable trail of what's going on, how well are we doing, are we meeting our 24-hour response time for doing inspections. Are we seeing, and we can look at trends that today are difficult to see unless we can manage.
Jared, will the inspectors have the actual software and they just type in what they've done and where they are, and then the developer can pull that up somewhere? Is that how it works?
In essence, the inspectors have a small netbook style computer that will be able to update the software. And we'd have to ask Tanya where it actually lives. I believe the software stays here on the servers, and they access it on a web-based system.
Those will be in each car or something?
For your building safety inspectors.
So they don't have to come back to the building and put in their information? They'll have it available?
In fact, they're small enough, they just carry them.
Oh, okay.
Like an iPad?
It's very similar in size.
They have iPads.
And so we've had this software, we're just ready to implement it?
We've not had it before. This is something new.
But we've had it, it's been on the shelf to put it in.
We've been working towards securing the software, finding everything we need to know about it, the hardware that it takes to work on it.
And those inspectors will alert the developers that this is available now?
And it's already been presented once. Of course, as this builds up and we're able to turn it on, we'll hold several, whatever they need to be able to use it effectively.
Well, our people, our inspectors, oftentimes Inspector B cannot do his inspection until A has been completed.
Sequence, yes.
Yes. Will our own people participate in this in order to expedite the permit process?
Our people will be able to see that, yes. They'll know that a footing inspection was done so they can come into a rough end.
For electrical has been completed, therefore heating and air can then go, whatever.
When they start scheduling them sequentially like that, our guys will be able to see that flow.
That's great. That's super.
I think they'll really be excited about it. Great. Okay.
It's a fun one. We need to ask for a command decision on this. Pass these out.
Is it a two-piece handout?
It's a two-piece. There's a picture of a bus there, just to remind everybody what the movements look like. Take one, pass it around. This is the item to purchase the new italicized bus benches for the system. This is in accordance with the public hearing that you're conducting, and item B in your packet is supposed to contain a picture of the actual bench. Appears as though it's run away. These are the same metallic benches that you see in the parks, and they're up and down the rails to trails. We're buying 200 of them today. 80% federal money, 20% local money. There it is. I don't want to prejudice anybody's decision, but that's a really good color.
What color is it?
Green.
That's what the ones over at Elwood are.
The ones in the parks are green. The rails to trails, and we have that if anybody wants to see it. But anyway, back to this. This is an opportunity to purchase those benches. Again, 80-20 federal funds, 20% local funds. All are budgeted, all are available. This is a provider that we use to buy those benches in the parks, so that we know we'll all end up with the same product, same ability to maintain them, replace them, etc. But as part of the purchase, we do need to decide what color.
Maybe it makes sense to do them all the same. In and out, like in the parks. This senior park, there are other benches in other parks, aren't there? Like that?
Not every park bench in Amarillo is one of these newer metallic ones, but all the ones we have bought for the last several years look just like
Green is
them.
that, green's the environmental color.
But they're on the street and sidewalk.
Green's a nice color.
Yeah, I think green's good.
You want
I
candy
do
apple
see.
red or something?
Huh?
I don't care.
No.
The idea to match the stripe of the bus.
One of the proposals was to get a purple bench to match the purple stripe of the bus.
That must have been my wife.
Well, what are your thoughts of that? You know?
No, I just wanted my guys to take care of it.
I know.
What do you
Tell
mean?
me about your call not going.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Let's do green.
You win. Bingo.
Just toss it out there.
You ever-
Kelly, what do you want?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Don't ask him, he's an OU guy.
We're playing red and white. Did they win?
I like the green or the blue, but purple would make a statement. It would really make a statement. You wouldn't miss it. You wouldn't be wondering where the bus is.
Yeah, that's
Brian wants the candy apple red.
Well,
That was my vote, IDC.
I'll call and I'll work with you on this, and we'll just, if they don't
I
care.
thought we decided on green.
Green or black?
I think
I
green
think
is
green.
wonderful.
Green is good.
Mine is
Why don't we just change the stripe on the bus?
Yeah.
Somebody suggested that earlier this week.
Yeah.
You'll be done.
I think green is good. It's an environmental color.
You should like that.
Okay, well, green, that's green.
Benches,
Green benches.
green benches.
And the
Got
shelter,
green buses.
that would be VIP green too.
about the shelter? What is that going to be like?
There are, the addition of several shelters to the routes are proposed under the public hearing. We have two options there. One's to continue the shelters that you currently see, which are kind of the bronzed aluminum framing with the smoke plexiglass. Those are not something that you're seeing installed in many of the transit systems today. There are shelters made that are similar architecture to these metal ones, but they don't have as much of a full enclosure as the ones we have. Something that I think Judy and her folks in the advisory committee will still work on is ultimately what to purchase. I know I've suddenly become an aficionado of public transit and started looking around, even in areas with much, much more severe weather than us. They're all moving to a more open, lean-to style shelter that's this metallicized stuff that doesn't have some of the. We have some issues with the ones we have. Sure, we do.
Vegas, they have misters.
And well-deserved, too.
Just because openness and not having people out of sight. Okay.
And much more difficult to vandalize a plastic coated metal structure. The plexiglass, Judy, has a group of staff that work constantly to keep those shelters up, replace the plexiglass as needed. They're magnets for, and certainly not during the hours that the system's in operation. But they sit there through the night, where some of them are. They have a rough life.
Sure.
Okay. Item C.
Mayor, item C is a contract to remove and replace the roof on your storage facility up here at 110 South Grant. You may recall that building was originally purchased with the partial funding from the 2007 certificates of obligation. At the time we purchased it, we did have some repair done to the roof. That's not doing what it needs to do, and the material that's being stored in that building, we've absolutely got to ensure that it stays dry and weather tight. We would ask to be allowed to use some of the remainder of the 2007 CO monies to replace that roof. Of course, these monies are available because we bought the building a little under budget, and the police department remodel job is under budget, so we're still within that category, including improvements for police. So we would like to have access to that. As far as those certificates of obligation go, the majority of those projects are either finished or well down the path of being constructed and finished. There are some funds remaining in this particular one. We think this is a good and valid use of that. We've got a project that we could possibly use a small amount of that funding just to help us get that building, some asbestos work in that building ready so that the next time we need or are able to do expansion over there, that piece of the work's already done and out of the way. And the police have identified some additional range improvements that they'd possibly like to see, and that'll finish it out for that category. So, 3 years is certainly a long time, but there's a lot that's happened, a lot of good that's been added to the community as part of it.
Okay. Good. And item D.
Mayor, item D is a contract for material testing services, dirt primarily, for the work that's being done now out at your solid waste transfer station over here at the City Service Center. We need to do this, as you'll recall, they're digging a very large hole, big enough for the semis to come down into it. We load them off, so there's quite a bit of embankment work that's being done, concrete and so forth. We need to do this to ensure that that's done properly.
So that's how you started, the transfers? Yeah. It'll be a third bay, is that right?
It'll be, yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Do you add more trucks because of that?
Eventually.
Eventually? Okay. Well, that's one of our, what do we call that again, school? Field trips. Field trips, yeah. Okay.
School field trip.
B? No, it's not E, right?
We're on item E. Mayor, item E is the presentation and approval of the golf course operations contract for the Ross Rogers Golf Course. Operator will continue to be Sherwin Cox. Dean Frigo has worked on this diligently, and I think has got us in a very good place, certainly not only for the public and for the city, but also for your contract operator out there. Dean can present that and show it to you. Of course, one of the key features of this is that it maintains your eligibility for your tax exempt financing, which of course is another way to be fiscally prudent and save money.
In order to issue tax exempt bonds on the golf course for the golf course improvements, the city has to receive all the income from the course itself. And the city did receive most of it, the green fee, the $2 fee for the golf improvement fund. But the fees we didn't receive were the carts and the driving range primarily. And the pro, that was part of what the pro used to pay the salaries of the people that took the city's green fees and sold the beer, operated the deli. A lot of that income he used for that purpose. So the goal of this contract was really just for him to be whole. He doesn't come out ahead and the city doesn't come out ahead. So in order to do that, it meets all the federal requirements. It's a 5-year contract that either party can terminate after 3 years. We'll give him 9.5% of the course revenue as an incentive compensation, because we always want the pro pushing tournaments and play at the course. So we want to have, him to enjoy the revenue from the course also. We did exclude the $2 golf improvement fee from his incentive compensation, so that will all flow to the golf improvement fund. He also has a base fee and a base management fee for operating the operation inside the clubhouse. It is $165,000 in this contract, but that plus the incentive compensation is about the same as what he was making off the carts in the driving range. So we just swapped revenue. He's responsible for everything inside the clubhouse, and the city is responsible for everything on the course. And while the course is out of service, we did put in a minimum of incentive of $110,000 because part of his income was coming from the course, and we're taking half the course out of service.
Do you renegotiate after the course is finished?
This accounts for that. That floor goes away, and then they work towards a cap when the course is reopened. And I think a very key feature of this is twofold. Number one, this is an operations contract, so that this is not a single person, of course, that's doing this. They employ a staff to operate your clubhouse, and for them to receive the compensation that they're used to receiving, the course has to perform. And thus the incentives that are built into the contract. I think that puts both of us, both the city and your operator, on a pretty good course. The better it does, the better both parties do.
Now, once the new course is up, we expect his incentive compensation to be about $140,000. But when we take half of it down, we've cut his ability to make income also.
And the main issue to ensure that this was consistent with law was that taxes don't apply if the city took over the ownership chief of the cards. They could continue to do what we used to.
One of the largest pieces, yes.
That was one of the larger pieces, yes.
The carts was the big piece. The driving range really wasn't that significant.
Okay.
And having said that, the city's going to have to buy the carts. And we intend to take to your next meeting a proposal to purchase carts.
So are we going to purchase them or lease them?
If we purchase them, then we won't have to pay property tax. If we lease them, they'll push the property tax to the
Off
city.
to us?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Since we don't have a carrying cost for the money, it really works to our favor to purchase.
And we'll bring you just like the bus benches. You can pick the color. But we'll bring that next week.
I think that should be 2 colors.
They have black tires.
Well, you can get like a white top and a blue car. I like the blue and the white.
It's early in the year. We need to get off on the right foot. We bring these heavy decisions.
Color charts.
Yeah.
Color charts.
But all we did was make him whole.
Okay, that's a good thing. All right. We need to talk a little bit about some boards and commissions.
We do, Mayor. We also have information for your use if you wanted to discuss the public forums.
Oh, yeah.
We could hand that information out, let everybody look at it, and we can come back next week. However you'd like to do that.
Sure.
But you're right, we do need a closed
Yeah.
session. We do have some board appointments especially that we need to work our way through today.
Okay, we have that information here? Oh, yeah, public forum. And again, this was to, I think at the beginning of a year, it's important to see how we can make our public comment
Sure.
time more efficient, more effective, and let people know they're being heard. And as we've done this, I know y'all have looked at other cities and see how other communities do it to better that public comment time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are y'all listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you. But I think it's important that we look at it now and see how we can maybe better our way we do our public comment.
I think you're right, Mayor. It's just a good opportunity to look, see what other common practices are, what you might or might not want to consider. for your own use. The sheet on the top is just kind of a summary of what is common in our area. Of course, today, the city of Amarillo has open comment, no restrictions. As a standing policy, we don't have time limits, although you've certainly made appropriate use of them. We have large numbers of comment, or we're on a tighter schedule. Your Planning and Zoning Commission has a form that they use. It is attached, and that's used for anyone that needs to speak openly as open comment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The City of Canyon, as you can tell, does a sign-in sheet for citizens, and if they have 5 or more on the same issue or topic, they do require that group to designate a spokesperson. They also use an announcement from the city attorney at the beginning of each comment period, just kind of as a reminder of how, and this is mainly the Open Meetings Act, reminder of what the rules are regarding public comment. They do limit it to 5 minutes, and that's a standing rule in Canyon. Potter County does not do an open forum at this time.
Really?
For Randall County, they do allow a public comment period, but they do not structure questions. I believe that means questions on agenda items, but we're not related to those.
Apparently, people may not ask a question about something, they can just make a statement.
No time limit established in Randall. Of course, Amarillo College request to place on the agenda or fill out a request to participate as they arrive. They do have a form. It's attached in this document as well. And a 3-minute time limit in place there. Amarillo Independent School District, they have comment cards that are required to be filled out. Those are limited to 3 minutes. And again, we've included that backup for you. Bushland Independent School District, open forum. They did note to our staff that they rarely have the public at those board meetings. They don't have the time limit either. Canyon, sign-in sheet that they have, 30 minutes total is the limit to their comment period, 5 minutes apiece. And again, that's also included for you. In Highland Park and River Road, you can see one does a sign-in sheet with no time limit, one does a sign-in sheet, and a standing 3-minute time limit for that. What y'all have that?
I would just look into these. I'm just, my perspective on this, and I just like some feedback, is that time tends to become a forum for people to bring issues and problems, yet we absolutely do not have the ability to respond to that. And so it seems to be a one-sided, somewhat, from depending on your perspective, a non-productive practice. And it seems to me that if an issue is going to be brought up and there's something significant in there, that there needs to be an arrangement whereby that can come back on an agenda so that we can really provide cogent feedback. Because as it stands right now, it just doesn't seem to be productive, and from my perspective, it doesn't seem to be a fair exchange. And I don't feel I'm treated fairly in that form.
What about the guy that had the trash can dumped on his front steps? Yeah, who was in it? You remember that guy?
The dumpster that was moved from the back to the front.
I think there are a lot of relevant comments that are
Pull that
made.
back.
Yes.
A lot of relevant, and I think, Commissioner, that we do, if we hear an item that we think needs to be carried further, that we come back in here, I know, and we decide, do we need to discuss this, and do we need to put it on the agenda? So that kind of happens, but not as much as it should, probably, for us to go over what has been said. I think there's some sort of a law, is that right, Mr. Norris, on what you can do in a public comment? Is it a state law, or is that right?
Would you cover the 3 responses?
Sure, Mayor, under the Texas Open Meetings Act, you're right, it's law. On a non-agenda item, it's a public forum with a microphone. The law limits your responses, Commissioner Reese points out. You can respond with a statement of fact, period.
Right.
You can respond with a statement of policy, period. You can refer them to city staff, or you can discuss, let's put this on a future agenda item.
Is there enough interest here? Do we want to put this on a future agenda?
Decided by the five of us.
Yes, that's right.
At the time.
At that moment, you can decide whether you want to put that on a future agenda. And let me use my favorite example. A citizen comes to the microphone and says, "My trash did not get picked up last Thursday." And she stops talking and she waits for you to respond. Well, you can make a statement of policy. Ms. Jones, we're sorry your trash didn't get picked up. It's our policy to pick up in your neighborhood every Thursday. But you know, it's also our policy not to put the trucks down the narrow alleys when we've had a heavy snow. That's our policy. The fact is, we had 9 inches of snow last Wednesday night. So that's probably why your trash didn't get picked up. Thank you for your comment. It's a statement of policy, a statement of fact. But you can't get into a debate then when she says, well, you know, another thing is Thursdays aren't enough. We want to go back to having 4-day-a-week pickups. And you can't get into a long debate with her then about the merits of 4 days a week, once a week, twice a week, recycling, curbside recycling, drop-off centers. That's all for an agenda. You can't get into that kind of broad sweeping discussion. You just respond with fact and policy.
And so that needs to be reiterated when they throw questions directly at one of us. Mayor Card or Commissioner.
And I think that speaks to how Canyon uses the city attorney early on to frame that to those folks who are coming to you to speak. So that they have an understanding and an expectation as well as y'all, and you're able to make those meet. Many of the items that come before us are things we need to know, and there are certainly things that we can resolve and resolve quickly. The water break we had in the alley that moved the dumpster. We needed to know where it had been placed, and we needed to move it. The gentleman that came with some of the issues in and around the Sungate area. All of those are issues that are handled well within our existing policies and procedures. We just sometimes need help for people to tell us, hey, if you guys have a problem, we're going to go look at it. And we can and we do. Items that would potentially merit you wanting to post an additional agenda item would be true questions of policy that might come up. An example that we've had from the Flores in a couple of years, we had a regulated industry in town that wanted you to set a maximum rate on their service, but also require that you charge a maximum rate. You remember that?
Taxis.
The taxis. They wanted you to not allow, or a particular operator did not want you to allow folks to charge less than the maximum. Well, that's contained in an ordinance of yours and would certainly be an agenda item if that would, maybe more appropriately, if it would begin as a work session item so that you could have that open discussion, kind of give us guidance as to how an agenda item would ultimately be structured if it came to that. But it may be that that's something we want to consider is using Marcus to help us frame that so that both parties know. There's probably a little more give and take that can be done than what we typically do. We can make those 3 sets, or 3 types of responses.
And I think it's important that if he said that people will understand that, because Commissioner Eads is exactly right. We are put in a position that we cannot defend ourselves. And we know that, but maybe they don't know that. Why are you not talking to me? Why are you not answering me? Why are you not debating with me?
Mayor, another way to do that, I don't mind making a statement, but we could restructure what we say here on your agenda, on the public forum. We could add that kind of information. I've been looking at some other cities also across the state. This is a good local summary, and some of them have a more detailed statement on their agenda.
Well, and if we go to a sign-up card, it can be stated on that sign-up card.
Sure. We can put it all over the place.
And refer to the public forum items number 10, whatever it is.
I noticed one city that is just, I'll sit out here since I'm speaking. I thought it was quite interesting. This was in a very large city in our state. They have, in any given week, dozens of people that want to speak. And they limit the number of people who can speak. I think it's 12 a week. And they limit you can speak once a quarter. So that other people in the community have a chance to get on the list and be able to speak.
I don't see that. We don't have that issue.
You probably don't have it. I thought it was a very novel
Yeah,
approach.
it is. I wanted to say, because I thought about this, when I go to Austin or go to other meetings and I have to sign in, it makes me feel like I have more legitimacy on what I'm saying. I'm more legitimate because they have my name there. It will go on the public record. I came to speak to a certain issue. instead of a last minute, oh, let me think about something I can say. So I think it gives the speaker more legitimacy, and it makes them know that they're being heard. So I think that's a good way to do, as we've all said, as we go to meetings or boards, we have to sign in. So that's a good way to start this, I believe. And also we're informing them on what the law actually does say on what we can do and what we can't do. I think that's very important. And I know I've stepped over the line many times. I know I have, and I've started debating, but sometimes
You just can't help
I
it.
can't help it.
It's difficult.
So, yeah, it is.
And folks,
It
expect
is.
a response when
Right.
they come and
Right.
offer
Well,
comments.
I think they're interpreting that as arrogant indifference, and they're not, and that's the problem, is they don't understand.
Right.
You know, and I think, I appreciate your comments, and I think for a while to establish that mindset, you know, an announcement that you make, just like when we go into executive session, for a while, might not be a bad idea.
I suggest that this would be my personal feeling. At the end of the day, there needs to be a sign-in sheet. Either a card or a sheet or something that must be completed and is forwarded on to the mayor, and at the proper time, whether it's the third item on the agenda or the last item, the public forum item, whatever item it is, then she calls on them at the appropriate time. And this sign-in card explains the ins and outs of what we're doing. And if your item is 10, let's say that's the public forum item, we are limited as to how we can respond because of state law. And they know that going in. But I think the public comment is a great opportunity for people to talk to us.
Would you want to use that card system for items
Any
on the
item,
agenda?
that's correct.
So if they want to speak today on item 4, the transit system, they would need to fill out a
They
card.
need to fill out a card.
Turn that in.
And the mayor reminds them. Now, if you're here to speak to a certain item on the agenda, including the public forum item, you need to complete a card that's at the desk as you came in.
What if it's not on the agenda, though? What if it's?
That's the public forum. I said
Okay,
the last
that
one.
is the public forum.
What happens if they're a little late and they miss when the cards have been?
Be here on time. We were.
Well, the cards would stay available throughout the meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'd have a runner,
Yeah,
so to speak.
We would have a runner, have some staff available to kind of help if that's what you wanted to
But
do.
you might want some cutoff time, otherwise it isn't something that's effective.
Yeah.
While the third public forum speaker's talking, here goes 5 people over and start signing cards up. So you may want to have some point
By the
of,
time you finish the minutes, the cards need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
that gives them a few minutes grace.
How do you keep them on relevancy where, I don't want to, I mean, I had to go to
Yes.
school and learn about the Declaration of Independence when they want to read that to us. And, I mean, I'm being serious on that. That's
Part
where,
of- That's one of the advantages, sometime, well, of course, the chair can kind of control, but it's hard to say the Constitution isn't relevant to a government meeting, but that's where a standing time limit. It's 3 minutes, I said there are 3 minutes that you used, and that's the end of it.
If they want to pray or read the Constitution.
well, I mean, then, I guess I'm just saying relevancy. Do we want to talk about this or?
I would just maybe suggest in the public forum, the open session, maybe your speakers defining the relevancy. I mean, it's for them.
I personally feel like citizens on people have to have a public. I mean, they need to have a place to come because even y'all try to protect us sometimes where they say, well, the staff won't let us talk to the commission. You're not doing it on purpose. You're just saying, hey, we're just trying to let us help you first before it comes to the commission. They don't want to listen to that. They feel like they're going to get their voice heard.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think we all feel that way, that it's very important to have this. One thing I would not like to see happen, though, is to limit back to 30 minutes on it. I just don't want to see that. I don't think that's relevant to us right now. It's particularly if we have a new procedure, new process. I think it will take care of itself. And
Well,
because-
unless you have a number there that are signed up, then I think in order to be
Well,
efficient, we need to limit the time that they
I
can.
just don't, if we have them limited and we ask them, like this one says, if you have 5 going to talk about the same thing, you get a spokesperson, try to. I mean, that's going to be hard in the middle of a
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
And I just don't want to limit 30 minutes. I know we don't stay
Oh, I
that long.
thought you were talking about like the 3 minutes
Oh, no,
per
the 30
speaker.
minutes for the whole.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, let me ask you
But
this.
per speaker limit, I
If-
think.
Oh, yeah.
If you were to have 25 people show up to a forum, each expecting to have 3 minutes, do you have the ability, council, to at that time say, okay, we've got 25 speakers, we're going to limit this to 90 seconds each? Can you do that on the fly, or does it have to be established?
You can, my best advice to you would be to have a policy, a written policy, decide how you're going to do that. And that way you can point back to the policy. Otherwise, if you're not real careful, it begins to become a little bit arbitrary that, well, let's see, we got 19 people today, we're going to limit it this way, and next time you got 12 people, we're going to do it that way. 21. My best advice to you is this is a healthy conversation. Continue it, and let's come up with some written guidelines that any future mayor would know how to handle that situation. Instead of having to do it on the fly, you've got a guideline for it.
Mayor, would an hour be more acceptable to you? The
I don't think
forum's
we
going
put
to
a
be limited
time.
to an hour?
I don't think we put any time on. We don't have that very often, and I just don't think we'll have that problem if we do some of these other things here.
I agree.
What if we put it at the beginning of the meeting instead of the end, like Waco does?
There are several that do that.
But then everybody will leave for our meeting.
We want them to be bored out of their mind like we are.
They would, they get up and leave, just like our proclamations.
I have a relevant question. I know I'm not supposed to.
That's okay.
This meeting, but I'm confused. The difference between when you say, Mayor, any comment on this agenda item
Right.
going on versus public comment at the
Right.
end. Now, I still haven't got that straight in my head.
There's that, Sheriff.
I got some popcorn. Excuse me.
Talk to yourself.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
Well,
Please.
the difference is that if an item is on the agenda, then it's right for full body debate, deliberation between you, anyone who the chair wants to recognize in the audience, full wide ranging debate on that subject. On public forum, to comply with, and the reason for that, the reason why you have that wide open discussion on these posted agenda items, the Attorney General says, everybody in the public, everybody in town knows we're going to talk about storage facility roof. And so anybody can come talk about storage facility roof. But when you come to a public forum, no one has any idea in the world what's going to come up. Skunks in the trash can, signs, who knows what it's going to be. And for that reason, you can't have a full-blown debate because the citizen could say, if I had only known they were going to discuss signs in public forum, I would have been down here, but it wasn't posted. So for public forums, the AG has interpreted the law to limit that we really can't deliberate because those three things I mentioned. So that's the difference. If it's on the agenda for business, and it's right for full discussion.
And we can respond to you. We can say,
That's right.
In all respect, you don't understand that. Here's what we're trying to say. But on the public forum item, we can respond. And then have a back and forth discussion.
What do they have to do then to get it on the agenda?
We have to, that's a very interesting
Still
idea.
breathing.
I think we need to put that on the agenda somewhere in the next
You gotta have 2 or 3.
three.
It's traditionally been 3 here. It's not your charter. You can adjust that if you care to. And of course, a nod of the head to put it on the agenda doesn't mean you're necessarily for or against the item. It just means you're willing to discuss it.
Yeah.
Did that answer your?
That's it.
Can the mayor do one of those 3?
That's some good popcorn.
Popcorn for you. Give me a piece of chocolate to wash that down.
Who's mayor pro
Some
tem?
Who is?
I'm working with the lawyers doing medical advice. I'm getting all this backwards. Just like the old days.
He does dentistry on the weekends.
Let's talk about the time.
How's that right?
Is 3 minutes long enough? Is it too long? Sometimes it works both ways. So 3 is kind of in the middle, I guess.
I think three's adequate.
Well, as we looked at not not just the local jurisdictions, but through Texas and some other cities, the average seat is 3 minutes. Where those communities where they put time limits on, in the back there are, after the other deal, there are some other cities we can look at. The average seats could be 3 minutes.
Can they ask for an additional time? Is that a,
Well, I think that's a good question, Mayor. Anything that's not a written established policy is the purview of the presiding officer. So that's you. And, you know, the advice to that is to be equitable and to be consistent. If you decide that, you know, these speakers are making excellent points we had not considered, and we need to know this,
right,
then we should allow 5, and it needs to go across, you know, the
Either
universe of
subsequent
those that would be
speakers, yeah.
that would be commenting.
And they can't yield their time to another speaker.
Right.
That's another species.
I just know some of those have been the longest 3 minutes I've ever.
yeah.
Vicky doesn't have a lot.
Okay, well, does anyone else have any comments about this?
Well, if I may, let us study this, and if there's something specific that you know is burning in our gut, we'll bring it back.
And
Do
if we-
that if you would like. I've got 3 points that maybe would frame the beginnings of a policy that we could come out with next week again,
Okay.
just for discussion. We need to be deliberate in certain and using the proper announcements from the Open Meetings Act, so that that's just,
Right.
it's out there, and then both parties have a very clear expectation.
Right.
I think I heard that we do want to consider some form of a sign-in card, a witness card, however we may wish to term that. And I heard to do such, both comment on posted agenda items and just as the invitation to speak in the open forum. Is that, again, you're not making that decision, it's just something we'll bring back to let you.
What was the last thing you said? I'm sorry.
For both the agenda items, your card would say, I'm Jared Atkinson, and I'm here to speak on item 4, which I don't know what item 4 is today. I think it's one of the ordinances, that's the resolution.
Let me ask one more question first. Do you think if we're gonna ask people to fill out cards for the forum, it's important to also make them fill out cards for the other agenda items?
Yes.
I think it's your call.
You think it can go either way?
Either way.
Because I don't understand why you feel that way about standard agenda items.
Every, not most, every other public meetings that I've ever gone to require you to do that.
Then why are you
They
doing
have
it?
it, they have it, then it's a matter of record.
You have
It's
to
not a
state.
matter of can we how do you spell your last name? You know, it's.
I thought that was always for, Commissioner, in order, when you've got a limited amount of time, that letting people that have input into the public record when they weren't gonna get to speak, or when their speaking time was gonna be at 3 in the morning. I thought that was the
You can
purpose
fill out
of
those
that.
cards and give your comment and say, and then there's a place you can check, I want to speak, I don't need to speak.
You still have your name put on
And at the
it.
end of those
Goes in the
meetings,
record.
the chair will read that, or the clerk of the committee will read, Marcus Marcy of Amarillo is there
Right.
opposed.
Oh, is that true?
Right.
You have to state your position.
I never stayed till 1 in the morning to hear that.
Yeah, they'll read the card, so it's part of the
Okay.
record.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What was your third?
My third one was that you had been discussing just kind of a pro forma time limit. I guess to keep us moving for discussion next week, we'll list that as 3 minutes, and then you all can discuss that and decide whether you want to keep it up.
Yeah, I think this will make us more efficient and more effective for the community as well as the commission, so, and staff, from their perspective as well,
And
I understand.
public will understand.
Uh-huh. What,
Commissioner, go ahead.
I had one other question, Marcus, when you said we refer them to staff, that doesn't mean to refer them so they can talk to them at that moment. It means after the meeting, we'd like you to talk to them.
Correct. That's a problem with the lead chief, if you'll contact me
Right.
after the meeting, or the city manager. And most of the things, I would encourage you, just for simplicity again, the city manager or the city manager staff, is not everything has to come to this man, but he's got 2 good assistants, and they can help get people lined up. Especially if maybe the meeting's gonna go on, and this person says, I gotta leave, well, the assistant city managers are usually in the audience, they can go back to the room. That's true.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that this commission feels strongly that public comment is important. And we certainly weren't trying to stop any of that early on. So this will make us better. This will make us better.
Well, I think Commissioner Eads makes a valid point. For many of the people who are coming decided manner when you might have a little more ability to respond with what we've done typically or by habit. Certainly, I think by giving them up front that expectation, this segment, this is how this works. This is what you can expect. Of course, all of us, be we staff or elected officials, of course, have the ability, once the meeting's adjourned, you're now not in a public meeting, you're in a conversation. And you as individuals can engage that at any level that you feel is appropriate, just can't with staff. So, we'll do that.
That'll be good.
Y'all have that for your study and review. And try to make it simple. I don't think the policy of this nature should be necessarily lengthy or even all-encompassing, because again, it's the prerogative of the chair. We'll put something together and you'll have that. And keep it moving.
Do we have some work sessions for any of these? Are these open?
I think that we're ready, Mayor, now for a closed session.
Okay.